sorry, I got a little bit cut off before I was actually done with hair, but I'll go to that previous slide where we were cut off. And so we talked about that the last phase of the hair cycle is telogen, and that's the resting stage. The papilla is going to move up, and so that is where it's going to be called club hair, and the club hair is that dead hair, and it's finally going to fall out. And then just like we talked about in anagen, then there possibly could be a new hair growing already right next to that club hair. So the club hair could fall out during catagen, or probably more like telogen, or it could be pushed out by the new hair in the next anagen phase. We, on average, are losing 50 to 100 scalp hairs per day, and then this shows how that young adults, kind of the timeline, so 6 to 8 years in anagen, 2 to 3 weeks in catagen, 1 to 2 months in telogen, and then starts all over. Those of you that have been pregnant know that our pregnancy hair remains in anagen. It's growing and growing and growing, and then a few months after childbirth, it all falls out. So that is something that pregnant women have to deal with. So a few disorders as far as hair growth. Alopecia is when the hair is thinning or potentially bald. Pattern baldness is when there's different specific regions of the scalp instead of kind of all over the whole thing. That could be from genetics. It also could be from hormones, but the baldness allele is on the X chromosome, and it is recessive, and then it is expressed only in association with a high level of testosterone. Most of the hair on the trunk and the limbs is vestigial. That means we don't know any function. It doesn't seem to have any purpose, but possibly could have been for providing warmth in our ancestors. Our hair receptors do alert us. They give us our information coming from our stimuli, so we can feel crawling, we can feel temperature, all that kind of stuff. And then our hair on our scalp does help retain heat and protects against sunburn. And I think all of this is pretty straightforward. Eyelashes help protect the eyes. We'll talk more about them when we get to eyes, probably A and P2, and eyebrows. Again, maybe considered vestigial, but are useful in nonverbal communication. So we'll talk a little bit about nails, just some features that you need to know. The free edge is the part of the nail past the fingertip or edge of the toe. And then the nail body is kind of the largest part. And then we'll talk about the cuticle and the nail bed as well. So we're going to talk about all of these, but it doesn't have the picture right next to the text. So we do have nails on our fingers and toes. They are clear and they are hard, and they're derivatives from that stratum corneum, that outermost layer. They are the same types of cells, so those keratinocytes, very thin, but they are dead cells. And so by having these fingernails, it allows a more fleshy and sensitive fingertip. So this helps us for digging and grooming, picking apart food, and moving around our fingers for other functions. So again, some definitions, some vocabulary. The nail plate is the hard part of the nail, and then that's into 3 sections. The edge, the free edge, is what overhangs the fingertip. The nail body is our visible part of the nail that we see, and then the nail root does extend underneath that overlying skin, so there's part of it we do not see. And the nail fold is that skin that surrounds the nail. I'm going to jump down to the matrix. The nail matrix is the growth zone of cells in the stratum basal, and that is at the end of the nail. And so mitosis happening in this area is what accounts for nails growing. We would expect 1 millimeter per week, or slower for fingernails and slower in toenails. The cuticle is a narrow zone of dead skin that just overlays on the proximal end of the nail.